Welcome to another edition of Civil Disobedience with Vince. It's time to declare independence, folks. Independence from the shackles of government as much as practical. Why do I say that? Well, we just endured two back-to-back Category 5 hurricanes, Irma and Maria, which essentially destroyed the infrastructure of all three U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, this very same government that hasn't learned the lessons of past major hurricanes such as Hugo, Bertha, Marilyn, Otto, and the like, the same government that is broke and must depend on the feds to bail us out yet again, the same government that tells you when and how to run your generator, if you have one, your personal lifeline, due to the broken promises and their inability to perform, ostensibly to save the environment. In the aftermath of a disaster, they want to save the environment rather than concentrate on saving you and making things more convenient for you. The same government that asks you to make sacrifices that they themselves don't make because they place themselves first in line. I could go on with this, but this is about we the people learning the lessons that government refuses to learn. And hurricanes are not going away, folks. Bad weather is with us forever. Remember, folks, government has zero incentive to be efficient. Why? Because it can impose taxes to force us to pay for its fraud, waste, abuse, and general inefficiencies. It's just that simple. If you're a homeowner, you can free yourself from many of these imposed sacrifices that result from a destroyed electrical infrastructure. Some of the major hotels have learned a lesson. Some of the affluent people that live on the island and some of the businesses also have learned the lesson. They've done the math and disconnected themselves from our local utility, WAPA. You too, as an average homeowner, can learn the lesson and declare independence from government's inability to plan for the long term and its inability to place we the people first before itself. Now, folks, a little perspective. I graduated from Eudora Kent High School in 1979 and left for college in the U.S. Navy. Back then, 38 years ago, as of this recording, utility electrical power was unreliable and the roads were bad, just for starters. Now, fast forward to today, and utility electrical power is not only still unreliable, but it's expensive. The roads are still bad, by the way. Nearly 4 decades later. Now, when I returned home back in 2003, I was disappointed with that fact and the fact that there were no real substantive improvements in our basic infrastructure. We're essentially a third world, territory. We're not really anything when it comes to basic infrastructure like the rest of the nation. Well, the mainland anyway. So I decided it was, I lived with this for a while, endured the blackouts, endured all those inconveniences. And then I decided to act. I decided to refuse to be a victim of government's failures as much as I could, as much as practical. And I started with electrical power. While I planned for a disaster scenario, when I did what I did, I had zero idea that it would be put to the very extreme test of two back-to-back Cat 5 major hurricanes 2 weeks apart. But it passed the test. When Irma started kicking up, I disconnected from WAPA manually and went on internal power and have been there ever since. That was September 6th. I researched and had built PV solar system. PV stands for photovoltaic. that was a solar system that was off-grid capable. Um, the system uses batteries as a backup, so I have no moving parts. There is no noise, there is no air pollution, and there's no waiting in lines for gas to refill a generator. Okay, so I'm free of all of that. The toughest part of doing all this was getting the permits from government, from WAPA and DPNR. Now, but the system in the last 5 years, and continues to, it freed me from all of the inconveniences of all the WAPA blackouts during normal times. I mean, the wind blew a little bit too hard, or the rain came down a little bit much, the power would go out. So, but I didn't endure that. So because I declared independence and did this. Now, the system has also provided me with continuous power since September 6th, when Irma hit. As soon as I saw all the power lines flapping in some serious breeze out there, I disconnected manually from WAPA, and I've been disconnected ever since, on working on my own internal power. Now, I don't say that to brag, people. Hopefully you will learn the lessons too. Why should you be part of some shared misery when you could do this yourself? Anyway, I'm independent of WAPA, and I don't have to make many of the sacrifices that the majority of we the people who trusted government are making now in the aftermath of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And it's going to be a long haul. The island is pretty much, well, it's devastated, to say the very least. It's going to take them a long time to get the infrastructure that was up before back up now. Anyway, things that people take for granted: running water, flushing, showering, lighting, electrical lighting, keeping food cold or frozen so you don't have to throw it out, filtered water. I mean, I could go on with this. I don't have to endure it. And this is, again, this is not bragging. This is simply me declaring independence from the shared misery that government imposes on all of us, because it makes short-sighted, easy way out decisions rather than committing to long-term planning for a secure future for we the people. Folks, I'm not a rich person. So the reasonable question to ask is, how can an average homeowner do this? Well, here's an example. If you decide to delay buying that new mid-size SUV that so many of our people choose to drive, and you choose to drive your old hoopty for another 5 years, you too can do what I did, and at current WAPA rates, you can have the system pay for itself in roughly 5 years and free you from, that expensive power bill, and apply the savings towards that new SUV after the system has paid for itself. So the money that you would have spent paying an electrical bill, a big electrical bill, you would be spending now on the hoopty, rather than having both a big electrical bill and a big new car bill. Something to think about. Because, folks, blackouts aren't going away, because, again, in nearly 4 decades, WAPA hasn't learned a lesson. Government hasn't learned a lesson. They haven't learned how to make a reliable electrical power generation and distribution system. And folks, hurricanes and bad weather are not going away. This is planet Earth. This is what it does. Okay? So take charge and carry out the plan. This is something that the United States Navy stressed to me many, many times. Prior planning prevents poor performance. Something to consider. Something to think about. Now, I recommend you declare independence from government's failure to plan and learn the lessons of past disasters. Who better than you you, the taxpayer, you, the ratepayer, you, the homeowner, knows best how to make decisions for yourself and your family. Now, folks, I had enough. I decided that was enough of being victimized by the local government-run electrical utility. Yeah, it's semi-autonomous, but it's government-run. You can't tell me that after between 1979 and now, we couldn't have reasonably priced utility power. You can't convince me that that wasn't possible, because I'm doing it. I settled on PV solar with a battery backup. I didn't want any moving parts. The batteries are, need maintenance because they're wet. They're deep cycle batteries, and the solar panels require a solid installation to survive a storm. So I went with that option, with also the option of later adding a wind turbine to keep the batteries topped off at night. After analyzing 1 year of WAPA bills, Solar Home proposed a system designed based on my average power consumption over any given year. And I said, no, I kicked that back. I said, no, you need to design the system around my maximum power usage at any given year. And that's what they did. They came back with that, and they sent schematics to my home based on my home and shipped everything from California. Now, shipping all the stuff from California cost me an extra $2,000 above and beyond what I spent, but it was worth it. The only thing that wasn't shipped were the batteries. They said that would just add a ridiculous amount of money to the cost of shipping. And I agreed to that. Tried to source batteries locally. Now, these guys recommended 2 battery banks. I use 6-volt batteries, Golf Guard batteries, deep cycle, in 2 banks of 8. That's what the optimum system would have been. And 48-volt system. Each bank was hooked up in series, and both banks were plugged into the system in parallel for a 48-volt system. In any case, I only have 1 battery bank right now because getting batteries locally from the #1 distributor of batteries was extremely expensive. So I sourced my original batteries from Puerto Rico, and since I work for a shipping company, I got those shipped over here by one of the feeders for free, which, $1,500 for the 8 batteries. I should have bought the 60, but I didn't. There are some lessons learned there. The 8 batteries right now are doing their thing, but I would have much more options had I installed all 16. In any case, I'm doing just fine. So my system is quiet. It does not disturb the neighbors with the constant drone of a generator, gas, diesel, propane power generator, nor does it have a smell that people can complain about, which I hear on the radio whenever I do listen to the radio. I don't have to get in long lines to wait for fuel. The sun is free of taxes and fees imposed by the government on every other power source, save wind. When you read the government fine print, systems like mine, which are at 5 kilowatts or under, are essentially under the radar. You start getting attention when you get at 10 kilowatts and above. My system is composed of the following components: 16 280 watt solar panels set up in 2 arrays of 8 panels each. My roof is a gable roof, and it's oriented east-west, so there's and it's a shallow angle. So there's 1 panel on one side and one array on one side and 1 array on the other side. There are 2 combiners. All the wiring goes into 2 combiners, 1 for each array. There are 2 charge controllers, 1 for each array. 1 inverter charger, which serves as the heart of the system. 1 system control panel, and 1 COM box to relay information from the system wirelessly via my local network and router. So I can show what the system is doing on my computer or on a tablet. As a matter of fact, I have a tablet that's on the wall that just shows me what it does. So ran out the system with the 8 deep cycle golf cart batteries. Again, I should have installed all 16. So again, but these guys at Solar Home told me 16 was optimum, 8 was minimum, and I installed 8. Soon to upgrade. The 8 batteries are doing a great job. But I'm going to add a wind turbine. I have the wind turbine in the house. Good thing I didn't install it, because Irma would have just taken that thing and just tossed it. But when I install it, I'm going to install it so it can be broken down and taken, put away for hurricanes. I'm also going to take a look at installing a Tesla Powerwall. And if I do that, I want to talk to Schneider Electric first. But if I do that, then I am going to totally disengage from WAPA. I'll go completely off grid. I'm off grid right now. I've been off grid for 21 days. And I have a lot that other people don't have. I mean, I could record right now. Today is the 26th of September, my son's birthday. Got to find some time to call him. This thing is doing good. My system has been in place for 5 years. And the hardest part about doing this was getting the government permits from DPNR, Department of Planning and Natural Resources, and from WAPA to net meter, and they had to approve the system. That took the longest. The system was in operation for 3 months before they came around to say, Omni, you're okay. Again, there's an example of government efficiency for you. So, but that was the biggest obstacle to becoming energy independent as I am right now. I'm completely happy with this system, and I don't even know when we had, before Irma and Maria, I didn't even know when the power went out, because the system was so seamless. It would just, matter of fact, if WAPA was providing bad power, or under frequency, over frequency, or under whatever, it would kick WAPA out, and it would just operate independently until WAPA provided 5 minutes of good power. Then it would let the utility power back in. That's not the case now. But again, the power used to fail a lot. It cost a lot, and I'm right now. Hurricane Irma and Maria were an extreme test, but it's proven that I am free of them. I can operate freely of them. I called the folks at Schneider Electric who built the inverter charger and the charge controllers, and I asked them to tweak my system before Irma hit. And the tech rep, a guy named Jimmy, he walked me through the entire system, everything in my system. And we went through all the lines of software via the COM-box. Jimmy had my system running better than when I set the system up. When I set the system up, I was satisfied, but now, oh geez, I'm ecstatic. So my brother, Matthew, he rebuilt this house after Hurricane Hugo weakened the original structure that we all grew up in. And he built this house, which I financed. And the house was completed. He built it basically by himself. It was completed about 7 months before Hurricane before Hurricane Marilyn hit. We had a hard time getting insurance, but because it was built out of wood, but it got insured. But Hurricane Marilyn hit, and it was a Cat 5 back in 1993. Survived that storm, while the rest of the island was just taken out. Just like Irma, Maryland took out St. Thomas. He installed the solar panels. I helped him out, but he knows where all the rafters were, so he, drove the system. Installed the panels, and They supposedly were designed to withstand 120-mile-per-hour winds. Irma and Maria. Irma was sustained 185 miles per hour, gusting to 225, and Maria was recorded in St. Croix at 176 miles per hour before the wind measuring machine broke. So nice job. Then there's my electrician friend Drew. He wired up a system using his dark arts, and the entire rig survived both Irma and Maria. And the house, thankful doesn't even begin to say what this really means. You know, I say this not to brag, but rather to show you an example of what you as a homeowner can do to not be at the mercy of the government. Not only to save money, but to be independent and self-sufficient as much as practical. And this home, as with most homes in the VI, it has its own water supply. I have about, I'm gonna guess, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 gallons of water in the cistern that's in the foundation, and it's full of rainwater. So as long as I maintain my power system, I have running water. So, and many people don't have that because they rely on government. I can't say that enough. I have what many people right now don't have, which is running water, filtered drinking water, the ability to flush, to take a shower, to keep stuff cold or frozen in the fridge, and so on. I mean, I can watch TV. I have a lot of movies and TV shows that can keep me occupied for quite some time. I have that. What I don't have is internet. So it's and that's a challenge to get internet. So I can run my air conditioner, one of my air conditioners, within reason. So it's an option that I have that many people don't have. So this is not bragging. This is to set an example so you can do it yourself. I can charge my electric car. I had two. Irma trashed one. It's dead. But you know, on days that are not overcast, and we've had many overcast days since Irma and Maria passed, I can charge the car. So and free myself from waiting in hours of lines for gas, which is what's happening now. So many of you may think this is out of your reach and too expensive. While yes, local companies here do charge a lot to install solar, but if you do the legwork for yourself and you find a good electrician and a good contractor, you can do this for much cheaper than these local companies here are charging. That's your option. For the price of a brand new medium-sized, mid-sized SUV, you can do this. And so if you forego buying a new car and drive your hoopty for another 5 years, you can do this. My system paid for itself at these WAPA expensive rates in less than 5 years. So as an average homeowner, you can do this and free yourself of the expense and the unreliability of our semi-autonomous government-run WAPA. Hurricanes Irma and Maria were extreme tests. And you know, really, I only want for internet right now. Perhaps I should research some satellite internet providers as an option. We'll see. In any case, if you're a homeowner and you want to be free of the expense and unreliability of our government-run electrical utility, WAPA, you should consider this. Do not be a victim. Try to be as independent as much as practical. It's working for me right now. Food for thought, folks. Food for thought. I'm out.